Welcome to Sunday Night Serenity here on Recovering Addict. I am LT, your host, and I am an alcoholic addict.
I'm Felice, your co-host, married to an alcoholic addict. Here for any questions you might have about living with one, what it's like, all the
100%.
things.
If you've never seen me before, just know 2 times in my life I've hit rock bottom. Once in the early 2000s with meth. I got the felony to prove it, and a year locked up just to show for it, and 3 years probation, all that kind of good stuff. Then became a casual drinker at 33 years old, which turned into a belligerent blackout drunk by the time I hit 40, had to check into detox. And then I spent 5 months in an IOP. Over the last year, I've been doing nothing but recovery, studying recovery. So this channel is technically special guests, and we do relapse prevention. We are a community that's greater than ourselves. We are a bridge to a community. So if you can get in, join us. Just know that we have a community that will support you 24/7. If you can't get a hold of your local AA or NA sponsors or anything like that, we are always available. I know the new norm is social distancing, but let's not call it that. Us addicts cannot be antisocial. We will not be isolated. It's physical distancing. In 2020, we can be social. And I have a very, very special guest today. His name is Michael Molthan. I'm just going to read a little paragraph out of there just to get your guys' feet wet. He says, for over 25 years, Michael Molthan was known as one of the best luxury home builders in the country, but an addiction to drugs and alcohol caused his life to spiral out of control, slowly stripping him of everything that mattered to him, including his business, his relationship with his family, his marriage, his children, and finally, his freedom. After 27 arrests and doing close to 4 years in prison, Molthan had a spiritual awakening, a true bright light moment with God. He began reading the Bible, studying with fellow inmates, and speaking each day after dinner about the hope he had found. Quote, "My life today is the result of a series of miracles created by God to put me on a path to the divine right destiny," says Molthan. "I now live to serve God and share the hope and love he has so freely gave to me." So that is what we are going to get into. We're going to hear from the man himself and get into that story a little bit. Michael, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Michael.
What's up, guys? Good to see you. And it's good to be on the other side. I've never sat backstage on StreamYard, so that's good stuff. But thanks for the introduction. And yes, my name is Michael. I'm a recovering drug addict, alcoholic. I've had the gift of sobriety, and I mean that, the gift of sobriety since May 29th, 2017. So I'm a complete abstinence guy, and I've even gone through all the weekends without drugs and alcohol. So thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Yeah, we try to push for abstinence the best we can as well.
Definitely.
All right. So your story starts with you being a luxury home builder, huh?
It does. I'm in Dallas, Texas. We're in Dallas, Texas, and I have been here my whole entire life. And, I grew up on the wrong side of the tracks. I grew up and I had everything. I had a mom and a dad that worked very hard. And I grew up, my dad was very successful, and I grew up in the country clubs. And when I was 16 and got my license, I got a brand new car and all the things that, from the outside looked absolutely perfect. But on the inside, in my head, I just did not feel normal. There just something was different. I struggle with anxiety, paranoia. They would probably classify me as ADD, back then, but very hyperactive. I had a father that was a workaholic, so he was gone all the time. And recovery has taught me that that's what he was taught. So he was gone all the time. And then I had a mom that was at home. And so, it was just going. And I'll never forget that when I was 10 years old, I had my first drink of alcohol, and something happened. The alcohol went into my body. It went into my stomach, and my stomach melted like icing on a cake. I just knew something was there, and I acquired the taste for beer. I love the taste of it. I mean, to this day, I love the taste of it. I don't drink it anymore. I don't crave it anymore, but it wasn't a deal where I forced it down. I really liked it, and so, I didn't get drunk the first time, but I knew something was special about it. I always was trying to change the way I felt at a young age. Somebody taught me how to faint, how you could hyperventilate. You go up and they push your hands against your chest and you faint. And I liked that. You remember that?
I do. Me and my friends used to do it all the time. I loved it.
Yeah. So I did that. I mean, all the way down to sniffing markers, liquid paper, airplane glue, and then all the way down to Rush, a liquid in there where I was huffing because I loved the escape and I loved that feeling of, And, it was one night and, I think I was in the 9th or 10th grade. That is when I really cranked it up and got intoxicated for the very first time. And I felt like I had arrived. I felt like I fit in with everybody. I felt like I was big. My shoulders went back. I walked with some confidence, and I always had the gift of gab, but I really felt like I was believing my gab. I really felt like I was a part of. And slowly but slowly, this disease is cunning, baffling. It's powerful. This disease speaks to me in my own voice, and the disease tells me that I don't have a disease. And so I grew up in a household of a lot of rescuing and enabling. I had a very, very high bottom because I had money all the time. I always was surrounded by money and stuff. And so, of course, at a very young age, I said, I'm not an alcoholic or a drug addict because I don't live underneath the bridge. Right.
Right.
And so today I've realized through sobriety that the only difference between me and the man underneath the bridge is one thing, and it's the bridge. That's it. That's the only thing that's different. And so, I'll never forget when I turned 16. 16 was when I got my driver's license in Dallas. And that day I got my very first minor in possession of alcohol. I mean, the day I got my driver's license. And of course, my mom went down, talked myself out of it. You need to let them go and all this. And it was discharged. And so I kept going. I grew up in the country clubs and I grew up in the men's locker room, and these men raised me. And I only saw one thing. I saw how men treated their wives. I saw how men cheated on their wives. I saw how men did real estate. I saw how men gambled, and I saw how men, they worked hard and they played hard. And that's who I wanted to be. And so as I grew up and just drugs and alcohol were a part of my life in every single thing I did. Everything I did. There was a drink, there was alcohol. If there wasn't alcohol, I didn't want to be a part of it. Okay. And I always was never that guy. I said I was never that guy. So I went on the pro golf tour. Okay. In 2000, I graduated high school in 1987, and I went straight to the PGA Tour and caddied for one of the best golfers in the world at the time, Lanny Watkins, on the pro golf tour, and traveled the world for 5 years caddying on the pro golf tour. Okay. What a great lifestyle for a drug addict and an alcoholic, right? I mean, what a great lifestyle, and a gambler. I love to gamble because, see, I'm addicted to anything that's going to change the way I feel. I'm addicted to anything visible because I have horrible invisible problems. And don't you dare talk about God to me, okay? Y'all go to church, y'all go do your own deal. I ain't got time for that. And so as I started doing this, and as I was drinking, and as the disease was getting very worse, there was this little voice in me. And I think a lot of people, when I talk about this, about the word powerlessness, how are we powerless over? What does that mean, powerlessness? Powerlessness means this, is that with those dark nights when I'm by myself and I look into the mirror and I say, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And I need to go, I'm not going to drink today. I've got to get off the gas. And I would always see, I would see these men in my life that now that I look back, they were godly men. And I don't know if you can relate to this. Like, why can't I be like him? Why can't I have just a wife and kids? And why can't I be like my brother? Why do I have to have so much chaos and drama in my life, especially in my head, right? Because the problem is my addiction. I didn't think people understood me. I thought I was so different than everybody else. Okay. And I'm not. Today I realize that every human being on this planet, okay, deals with fear, anxiety, paranoia, anger, resentment, rage. But today I have tools on how to process that. And I'll get to that in a second. But as this disease keeps going, I was constitutionally incapable of being honest, right? So my disease was creating consequences, all right? My solution to make the consequences go away was to drink and do more drugs. So it's this cycle because, see, I have a sick brain that is trying to fix a sick brain. You see, it's this cycle. That's what we talk about, this cycle. Michael, we see it coming. We see it coming. You're about to relapse. We can see it coming. And I would get so angry. So as I was going, I wanted to get off the pro golf tour. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get married. I'm going to get married because I will get sober for this girl. And I knew I was going to get into real estate. I knew I was going to get into home building. And when I got married, I was going to get sober for this girl. And I was going to be that guy that I saw at the country club that didn't drink, that opened the door for his wife, that went home with his own wife, and did this, right?
Right.
And so that's the guy I wanted to be. And I did it for about 30 minutes. That was it. Okay. I did it for about 30 minutes. Okay. Because I step out there and I get uncomfortable. And when I'm uncomfortable, I'm uncomfortable. And when I'm comfortable, I'm uncomfortable. So I'm always medicating myself nonstop. And this is progressive. This disease gets more and more progressive. So we do more and more and more. And that's why you hear people go, man, I just used so much drugs it stopped working. Okay. So I get married and I became this workaholic. Okay. I was making a lot of money. I was being very successful. And the word alcoholism and drug addict in my world, that didn't make sense, LT, because I'm successful. All right. Drug addicts and alcoholics do not become successful. All right. Well, what's successful? That's a whole other show. Okay.
Yeah.
So as I'm doing this, and I look back on it now, God was allowing all this stuff to happen. Right. Now, keep in mind, I married my best friend that I knew from kindergarten.
Oh, wow.
We grew up together and did everything together. All right. We had two beautiful boys. And I will never forget when my son, I had a son in Florida that I had with another lady in my disease that I still talk to today. But when I had these two boys, I wanted to do something different. I wanted something different. And when that son came out, something happened. Right there, the thought of something bigger than me out there actually creeped into my mind. All right. But I continued to do what we did. All right. So to make a long story really a little shorter, okay, is as we tell our story, the perspective changes. And every time I tell my story, every time I speak, it just depends on what the audience is, But to leapfrog it, in 2009, I was super dad, okay? Well, let me back up. This is important. In 2002, I went to watch Monday Night Football at the country club, all right? They found me on Thursday. Okay. And that's not normal. All right. It's not normal for a husband and a dad of two boys and an owner of a very successful home building company to go watch Monday Night Football and disappear. And they don't find you until Thursday in a hotel room. All right. Sick, very sick. And so that was when I went to my first inpatient treatment center. So LT, since I think that I am so important and I'm this big daddy from Cincinnati, I think I'm this big time real estate tycoon, I went to Betty Ford because that's where important people like me go, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I flew first class, okay? And that was the only way that I was going to go, all right, to save my marriage, to get the heat off. So I go to Betty Ford. It was incredible. Let me tell you this. It was good. The educational part was great. They 12-stepped me. They really did. To this day, I still use stuff that I learned there. But I'll never forget this. And if you're watching this and you have a real problem with the God deal, okay, I'm going to challenge y'all. Try my God for today. Just try it. This guy came up to me, my counselor, and he says, Michael, let me tell you something. You are never, ever, ever going to experience sobriety until you do step 3. And I'm like, whoa, we haven't even done step 1 and 2. And what are these steps? What are you talking about? I'm here to learn how to drink normal. Okay. All right. I'm here to learn how to drink normal. I want to quit smoking. I want to get in shape. I'm here to cool off, let the heat off so I can go back home and work and just drink like a normal person. Well, I did that. I drank normal every single day and every single night. Normal all day, all night. Okay. So this guy said, ever since you have been here at the Betty Ford campus, all you talk about is your boys. That's all you talk about. And I said, you're right. I love those boys. I love them. I just love them to death. I love coaching. I love everything about them. He says, what if they spit in your face, cuss you out, and they say they hate you, they never want to see you again, and they leave your life forever, and you never see them again? And I'm like going, okay, talk to me. I'm listening to you. And he says, and then 30 years later, you are in your house and you hear a knock on the door, and you open that door and there are 3 grown men standing there, and they're your boys. Do you let them back in your house? I said, absolutely. No questions asked. Absolutely. He says, you just described your God. Now hold on to that. Now he tripped me out. He tricked me, right? And I was like, whoa, that made sense. That made sense. But I didn't make the decision. Now that was in 2002. In 2009, my wife had a massive brain hemorrhage. Okay. She collapsed on the bathroom floor. My life went completely out of control. I went back out. I was not working a program. I had no connection. I had no men around me. And I went back to my own devices on how to deal with fear. And that was drugs and alcohol, because I wanted to feel, everything was coming in on me. And in 2009, I didn't lose anything. I gave away my kids. I gave away my family. I gave away my marriage. I gave away my company. I gave everything away. Wow. And in 2010, I'm holding on for dear life. I'm living in an apartment. Okay. Nothing wrong with an apartment, but I never lived in an apartment. I'm living in an apartment. I can't pay the electric bill. I'm in a pickup truck that I can't make the monthly payment on it. All right. And I go out and I get pulled over by the Dallas Police Department and I get arrested. I get arrested for a DWI and possession of a lot of cocaine. All right. Okay. A lot of cocaine. We're addicts. We don't have a little of anything. We have a lot. Okay. I get arrested and they take me down to the Dallas Lusteric Justice Center. Huge place here in Dallas. And it's very institutionalized. I was scared to death inside. I go, oh my God, LT, I have become that guy I said I would never be. And I sat there. I was doing all I could to hold my tears in. And I said, I'm never drinking. I'm never doing drugs again. I'm done. This is over. And I meant it. I meant it with every ounce of blood in my body. I got bonded out that night. I was drunk and high within 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Drunk and high within 3 hours. Are y'all ready?
Mm-hmm.
That one mugshot started circling around Dallas, the real estate. People were using it against me. I was paranoid. I thought the whole world was talking about me. Little did I know, no one was talking about me. I ain't that important, right? But in my head, I've got this huge delusional story and I'm losing my mind after that one mugshot. 26 mugshots later. Wow. I got arrested 27 times. I was incarcerated for 4 years. This is a guy that was up here and ended up down here. And I kept hitting rock bottom. And every time that I would hit rock bottom, I would always work my way to get out of the bottom. And I would use my sick mind to get out of the bottom, right? And what that looks like in my story was, I'm going to show you. I'm going to make the comeback. I'm going to be the biggest home builder again. And it was willpower alone. The Rocky song was playing. I was ready to do it. I was drinking orange juice, bottled water for about 2 days. And then I twist off again because resentment was fueling the comeback. I had no spiritual tools. no spiritual tools. So on May 29th, 2017, I was apprehended by the Dallas Police Department, and I got my 27th mugshot. And it was game over. I knew it was over. And if y'all have heard my story, people who follow the great Judge Jennifer Bennett, who has been a part of my life, I've got 4 judges that are part of my life that have all been guests on the show. And they text me. We're now really good friends, but Judge Bennett was the one who had me for the longest time. And Interstate 35 up and down Texas, from Dallas down to Austin, I've been in every single jail down that interstate. And I never had a bond. Judge Bennett would always come get me, and they would bring me back to Dallas, okay? And it was just nonstop incarceration, all right? May 29, 2017, I got apprehended. I knew it was game over. And when they took me in there, and I got charged with an aggravated charge. They put me in the rock and roll tank with the murderers. It was rock and roll. It was banging, okay? And I walked in there, and I was like going, it's time to die. Now, meanwhile, in my story, I've had, fortunately, very unsuccessful suicide attempts. I mean, they've pulled guns out of my hand. My brother is traumatized, the times that he's pulled guns out of my head to try to kill myself. But I knew it was over. And I'm pacing around the jail cell, just pacing. And they bring in, I get a new cellie. Now, for people who don't know what a cellie is my roommate. Okay. He's my cellmate. And I'm in a 2-man cell that they shut the door, 4x8. Okay. And he's in there, and he's on a bench warrant for murder, and he's 75 years old. And I introduced myself to him, and I said, my name's Rabbit. Because that's what my jail name. I became that guy. I had a jail name, Rabbit. Okay. Because I was a runner, and I would pace. I wouldn't stop. I literally would just pace in the day room all day long because I was doing hard time, very hard time. And the reason why I was doing hard time is because my brain would go into the future, and I would become so fearful, so anxious, and so paranoid. I didn't like that feeling, and I had no drugs and alcohol to make it go away. So I would shift the view. So I would start going to the past. When I went to the past, I would get resentful, angry, and very depressed. So if you're watching this right now, if you're struggling with depression, I get it. And I found out that my depression stems when I go hang out in the past in my head alone. Okay. It's a dangerous area. So I do this game back and forth in my head like this, right? So when I was a kid, I was doing this game. And when I finally got that sip of alcohol, it was, and I experienced the now temporarily for maybe a half a chillisecond. But to chase that chillisecond, I would do more to stay in the now, right? Yep. And over 40 years of doing all these drugs and alcohol because I want to stay right here. I don't want this. I don't want this. And then that gets narrower and narrower because now I have consequences of my own actions. It gets real narrow. So I got to do more and more to stay in this real small little hole. And then that's when they say the dope stops working. I can't get there. Right. So I'm messy. So I'm doing this hard time in jail without drugs and alcohol. And this 75-year-old banger. Okay. He asked me a question. He said, Rabbit, will you do me a favor? I said, sure, School. What do you got? When you call them School, that means they're old. All right. I said, okay, School, I got you. What do you need? Of course, I got jail talk now because I'm on my 27th mugshot. I was Mr. Prim and Proper cokehead. Now I'm one of them. Okay. So now I'm sitting there and he says, will you read to me? I said, what? He says, will you read to me? I can't read. And I said, okay, okay, I'll do that. He goes, well, go get a book. So I go up to the second row and there's this Black Panther up there. And I said, hey, do you got a book I can read? School wants me to read to him because go look at my pillow is a book. And his pillow was this right here.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
I want one.
Okay. So this is the Life Recovery Bible. So this was his pillow. Look just like this, brand spanking new. He didn't read it, didn't want to read it. It was his pillow. So I take it down there. Now go figure. Here's a whole other show y'all can do. the public schools in America, the hardest book to find in the public schools is this book, right? But in prison, it's the easiest book to find. It's the only book you can find is in prison. You think we got this backwards? All right. So anyways, so this book, I start reading it to ooh-wee. All right. The next thing I know, guys, 4 days go by. 4 days go by. And I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? And ooh-wee says, man, you're doing easy time. I'm seeing it. 4 days go by. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't walking around the tank like a lost soul, literally a lost soul. All right. And I felt peace. And I was like, what is going on? Now I got arrested on 5/29/2017. Okay. On 7/7/17, I'm in my top bunk and I wake up and I'm like going, okay, what's going on here? It wasn't health. It wasn't like I was having a heart attack, but something was happening. I couldn't breathe. I just go, oh, like that. And just, it's like the movie, The Green Mile. And I'm not a movie goer, but The Green Mile, where all the flies were coming out of the guy's mouth, that's what was happening to me. I was like, oh, and I felt all of this anger, resentment, and just rage just coming out of my body. And I just go, oh, and I was just full of ice water. I was so full of love. I mean, like the love like no other. I mean, it wasn't euphoric. I mean, it was like I've been rocketed to the fourth dimension. I mean, it's like, what has happened to me? And I'm just like sitting there like this, and everybody's asleep. And I look out there and I see the guards moving around. And I'm like going, dude, I love that guy. I love that guy. And I just was like looking, I loved everybody. And like I woke ooh-wee up. I said, ooh-wee, man, I love you, man. And I wanted to help everybody. The tank was like, what is going on? And I was like, man, life is great. And then they called me to go see Judge Bennett. And when I walked in to see Judge Bennett, she looked at me and she goes, she knew something happened because I was always running game on her. I was always saying, listen, you've got to set me free. I'm important, you know? And so she looked at me and she just goes, Michael, I have given you every chance and it is time. And she's talking to me. All I want to do is get back to the tank so I can attend my support group meetings. Okay. These guys bringing this AA stuff in, this NA stuff in, crystal meth anonymous. Okay. I mean, guys who lived an alternative lifestyle, guys were bringing meetings in to talk about crystal meth anonymous. And I couldn't wait to see them. And I was the most judgmental person in the world. I was like, I could not wait to see these guys. Right. And I was looking at Judge Bennett and she just said, you're going to prison. I've got to send you to prison because you have got to mind someone. And she goes, when you get out, I hope something happens and I want you to pay it forward. And I said, Judge Bennett, I will do whatever you tell me to do. And that freaked her out right there because I had this awakening. And I said, Judge Bennett, I'm already free. I'm already free. And she goes, okay, I'll see you when you get out. So I go back down and I start preaching. I wasn't preaching the word of God, but I was preaching hope. I was telling people we're all going home. Okay. And then this guy gave me this book. Okay. It was this book called Detours. Okay. He didn't want to read it. All right. And I had no money. Okay. This is a guy, I had a high 7-figure net worth and I had nothing. They found me. I was living in a stolen Suburban behind the bait shop at the lake. Wow. And I don't understand why alcoholics, we always end up at the lake. You ever notice that? We always, I don't know what it is, but I was living and I had thrift store clothing on and this appeared to be normal. I was like accepting this way of life. And I got this book written by Dr. Tony Evans called Detours. And I was reading this and this book started talking about this person that I thought that I would never talk about. And that's Jesus Christ. Okay. And in recovery, in early recovery, and if that name scares you, just hang around a second because I get it. Because when it comes to religion, okay, I am an atheist. You can put that out there. Tell the whole world that. All right. Tell all 6 of my followers I'm an atheist when it comes to religion. When it comes to religion, but when it comes to the word of God and Jesus Christ and this book right here, I'm all in. I need bigger than the church. I need alcoholics and drug addicts in my life. Men work with men, women work with women. Okay. Cause I got nothing to offer a woman in early recovery. Nothing. Okay. I can't even pay my bills. You know, I mean, here's a guy that used to do it and I've lost it all.
Right.
So I catch chain. They take me down to Central Texas, 300 miles away. And I walk in there and I go into a brand new tank, a brand new gangsters. And this tank was ugly. I'm talking people taken out in stretchers, people jumping off the second row. I mean, I walked in there with my sword, my Bible. Okay. I never thought I would talk. I've heard guys talk like that. I'm like going, dude, you're just a weirdo. Okay. I become this guy. And I walk in there and I just stayed to myself. I was stayed in my hula hoop and I sat there and I just started reading. I was journaling and one guy came and sat down with me and I told him my story. And then that story, there was a big pile of people around. Okay. And the next thing I knew, M2 was tank boss. And I'm talking to the guards. We have a greeter. Someone comes into the tank. We had a greeter that would help him. I was teaching people service work and people were helping and all this. And what I've learned, I started doing easy time because weed taught me the reason why those 4 days went by so fast, because for the first time in my life, I was out of self and in the now and serving someone else. See, I'm selfish. I'm self-centered. And when people would tell me I was selfish, I did not understand that. I said, dude, I took LT out to lunch. I bought his lunch. And he's telling me I'm selfish, right? I mean, I'm like going, what is going on here? I just was so confused. So on October 13th, 2017, they come over the loudspeaker and they say, Michael Molthan, bunk and junk. Everybody's just going crazy. I said, what? So bunk and junk means you get your stuff, you're set free. And I said, that's a mistake because I'm on chain. I've already got my number. I'm 300 miles away from Dallas. I'm going to prison. I'm en route to prison. All right. And if anybody's been incarcerated, they know this. On Fridays, nothing happens on Fridays. Nobody gets released. Nobody moves around. Okay. They had to physically kick me out of prison on Friday. And for the first time, I said, God, I'm going to do whatever you tell me. Now, I've heard people say God spoke to me. Okay. Dude, it's real. He spoke to me. And he said one thing. He said, walk. So I started walking. And I walked down to downtown Belton, Texas. It was about 17 miles I walked. Okay. I get in there. They couldn't believe it when they saw me walk in. I said, y'all need to rearrest me. Something's happened. Took me back in. And all I'm thinking about is the booking process. I have to go through that process again. That's all I'm thinking about. I'm being selfish, right? I'm not, but yet I'm talking to God the whole time. They pull up on the computer and they said, Michael, the computer says you've been released. I said, but that's a mistake. I said, here's my paperwork right here. This says I'm going to prison. And they said, we know that. So they called Judge Bennett. Judge Bennett gets on the phone. She says, nothing surprises me with Michael, but this is absolutely crazy. You tell him to be in my court on Monday at 9 a.m. They said, okay, Judge, thank you, Your Honor. They hang up. They said, you need to be in Judge Bennett's court at 9 a.m. Monday. This is Friday. Whoa. Okay. I'm 300 miles from Dallas. No money, no food, nothing. And I tell them this and they go, well, we don't know we can't do anything for you. Meanwhile, we serve a big time God. Meanwhile, the head of probation walks in. He goes, you're not going to believe this. I said, oh yeah. So far I'm believing everything. Okay. All right. I've been released for about 6 hours. He says, we just found a benevolence fund in the county clerk for $86. And the state of Texas has said that we can buy you a bus ticket from here to Dallas. but you're going to have to walk to Temple, Texas, which was 27 miles away to get to your bus. I said, well, how am I going to pick the ticket up? They said, well, you're going to have to go to will call and show them your ID. I said, I'm a 4-time felon. I don't have a driver. I have nothing. Okay. So they print off my mug shots, and I use my mug shots to go to VIP to pick up my bus ticket. So I walk all the way to there, and I'm exhausted. Okay. I'm bald. Okay. I haven't done any physical exercise in a long time. All right. And I get there and I take the bus, I get home, and my mom picks me up at the bus stop and that I haven't seen. And she says, you can stay at my house for one night. And that's it. Now, she picks me up at the bus stop. My first son from Orlando, Florida, who I haven't seen, is in the car with her. And I got to reconnect with him right there. Hey, son, this is your dad. Just got miraculously released from prison. All right. He's working for my brother who's in the home building business. And so I go stay with my mom for one night. And then I go to court to turn myself in to go back to prison. And as I walked into I walked into the court with my sword. All right. I walked in and Judge Bennett looked at me and she goes, I heard what you've been doing behind the walls. I've heard it through other inmates. You've actually helped other inmates. I've heard it. She goes, there's someone a lot bigger working in your life than me, and I'm not going to get in the way. And she tore my papers up.
Wow.
She set me free. And she set me free. And she says, come back tomorrow with a self-correct program. And I want you to go pay it forward like I told you to. So I come back the next day. I walk from there to the Salvation Army, a homeless shelter. All right. I sleep on the concrete floor. Keep in mind, I'm in full-blown gratitude. I'm just as grateful as I can be. I am free. I am free. See, the old me, I'd be like kicking, screaming. I probably would have ran. I'd been kicking and screaming. They're doing me wrong. Okay. I go to the Salvation Army. I go to the cafeteria. The volunteers in there, I built their house. They don't even recognize me. All right. So after that, I go back and guess what my self-correct program to Judge Bennett was? 3 things. Judge Bennett, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to support group meetings. Number 1. All right. Number 2 is I'm going to get a sponsor, a mentor. And that person's job is to walk me through the steps. Okay. And number 3, I'm going to work the steps. I'm going to do that. That is my self-correct program, Judge. And I can't tell you how much I thank you for my freedom because I can't make it any more complicated than that. And she says, that is the perfect prescription. Go do that. So I go and I heard my mom and dad had gotten divorced while I was doing all this stuff. And I wanted to go see my dad. And I heard my dad was very sick. And I went and laid on his sofa and he said, there is a guy that keeps calling here. His name is Brian Glenn. And he's this big talk radio guy in Dallas. And they're wanting to know where Michael Molthan's gone. This big time luxury home builder. So I built homes that started at 5 million and went up. Okay. They're like crazy stuff. All right. They wanted to know where I went. I just fell off the map. Right. My brother was doing really good. And they're like, where'd Michael Molthan go? So I called him. I am in donated shorts, socks, no shirt on, out in the driveway, talking to Brian Glenn on the In the Know business radio talk show. And I told Brian Glenn this entire story I just told you. And he's like, Michael, now keep in mind, I got released on Friday. I was in court Monday. All right. This is biblical stuff. Traveled 300 miles, no food, no money, released on Friday, in court Monday. All right. On a radio show Wednesday on my dad's cell phone, ready? Tell him this entire show. And Brian Glenn goes, wow, what a great story. This makes sense, Michael. What year was this? I said, Brian, this was Friday. So iHeartRadio hears it. iHeartRadio calls me. I go and tell my story at iHeartRadio like I'm doing you. And something happened. And I started telling stories about how God was working in my life. And early in recovery, I was surrounded about 5 guys who had long-term sobriety. They taught me the traditions of the support group that I attend. And I don't wave any flag, but they said, listen, just stay focused on solutions. And that's what we do at Into the Rock, where we talk about solutions, spiritual solutions for my human problems. How in the heck am I staying clean and sober today? And that's what it all, because I was the biggest mess in the state of Texas. I was the biggest train wreck mess. I was a liar. I would spot, I would steal. I didn't know nothing. But today, God has blessed me. I'm engaged. I'm engaged to an incredible woman who's got almost 9 years sobriety. She's got 15 years of Al-Anon. I got no chance, just like you, LT. You and I are out of there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And if she tells me I need Al-Anon one more time, I'm going to jump out this window. But so I'm engaged to an incredible Rachel Stacy, and I have a show. God has provided me a show. And I get paid. I get paid to go speak. I get paid to work on a book. I have a conference call this Tuesday morning with the Billy Graham Foundation. I mean, it just doesn't stop. And all I'm doing is remaining honest and transparent. This book right here, and I'll end with this right here. See this book?
Yeah.
This was a pillow. I paid 10 soups, $10, 10 soups. And I would make my soups by writing letters for inmates that didn't know how to write to their family. Not to their baby mamas, not to their drug dealers, but they wanted to write a letter to their mom or grandmother. Okay. I would do that. I never got a visitor when I was incarcerated. I never got mail, but I sat back and I watched, and these men changed my life. They changed my life. That brand new book, that Bible is here. This is it.
Wow.
Right here.
Yeah.
And it is held together. It's held together with tape, speed stick tape, which is money. And the piece of paper that you saw that fell out of that Bible is my release papers that I will never forget, that was signed by Judge Jennifer Bennett. It says the magic word, delete. That means they delete the paragraph in your paper of going to prison. And that is just a snapshot of my story and how I'm living life today. So
that is amazing. How much time were you looking at when she deleted it?
I had another 2 years. I signed 4 years. I was going to do 2 on a 4, and she walked the whole deal on me.
So you'd be basically getting out a year ago, or
yeah.
And then God said, "Nope, you're done. Time to go."
God said, "I got big plans for you," and I guess what? I said, "I'm gonna do whatever you tell me to do." Now, there's moments. I'm a drug addict and alcoholic. There are moments where I try to play God, and guess what? God will do. He'll let me. He will let me go play God, for everything to get completely out of control, for me to hit my knees, turn to him, to realize I never had control in the first place.
Yeah. Wow. I have a real similar experience as far as the jail goes.
Mm-hmm.
And then just recently, like, it's almost like an oven. When God decided I was done, ding, you're done. It just pushes you. And you finally end up trusting your higher power, which is like, you look back, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I just trust so long ago, you know? Isn't
it amazing? It's truly, and everybody is truly different. Like, for example, and I could talk about Rachel. Rachel went to Al-Anon, okay, to try to fix him. All right. And then she ended up realizing that she was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and went to the other side of the room, went to the other rooms, picked up a chip and never looked back. Okay. Me, I picked up so many desired chips, they stopped clapping. I mean, I just picked up so many of them. I mean, because I was constitutionally incapable of being honest. You know, there's this book out there, guys, and you can buy it at any bookstore, Amazon, or anything like that. It's a self-help book called Alcoholics Anonymous. All right. And it's incredible. It is incredible. It has saved millions and millions of lives. And then there's also a book out there that you can buy. It's called Narcotics Anonymous. And I call that the New Living Translation of AA, because I actually understand it better.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a perfect definition for it.
Yeah. But I love it. But that's kind of my story. And You know, it just keeps building and building, you know, and, you know, the spiritual principles are real. The promises are real, you know, and, you know, if you're suffering today, if you're struggling today, you know, reach out to LT and his wife. I mean, you just reach out and simply ask for help. And it's imperative. This is my suggestion. Okay. And that's what the old timers said. They said, listen, we suggest that you work these 12 steps. All right. We suggest that you don't drink or do drugs when you work the 12 steps. You don't have to, but we suggest that you don't, and your life will be different. You will learn a whole new way of life. And early recovery is tough, LT, as you and I both know. It's supposed to be. Yes. If it were easy, I'd be in Utah right now having a beer with you and say, you know, hey, we'll get sober on Monday. Well, we can't do that. There's Monday Night Football. Okay, we'll try Tuesday. Well, there's something we got to watch on Tuesday, and we would procrastinate it.
Oh, 100%. Mm-hmm. So where can they find you on iHeartRadio and Spotify? Let us know where we can locate you.
Just go to our website, mtotherock.com. You know, our show is, we're a digital media visual, like you. We're a digital show, and we're out there 5 nights a week. So we're on 5 nights a week. December 23rd of this year will be our 3-year anniversary. We have not stopped. I mean, we're 5 nights a week on over 2.5 years. And it's been incredible. And I tell you, the enemy gets in my head. You know, the enemy will literally say, man, you don't need to be doing this no more. Aren't you sick of listening to yourself? And I'll go to an event. I get messages all the time. I have a publicist. Go figure. What the heck does that mean? You know, I mean, I'm like, that's how many. So it's just crazy. And I mean, I hate saying that, but they are incredible. I was with them today at Rachel's concert, and, you know, we had a gentleman just last night that we talked off the ledge, that God used us to talk off the ledge from taking his life, you know? And so, you know, that's what we're supposed, when we're pursuing our purpose, our God-driven, because God, when we're born, he has a master plan for us, right? Yep. If I go away from that plan, guess what that is? Pain. It's just that simple. Okay. It may be fun and Gucci for a while, but it's coming. Right. But when I maintain my purpose in life, what God wants me to do, we coast through life. Dude, I would love to be the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys and never throw an interception and never get hit. That would be the ultimate life, right?
Right.
That's not my purpose. Okay. If I go try to do that, it's going to be painful. God's going to say, hello, that's not what I have you designed for. So I truly believe that I've found, you know, what God wants me to do. Because my worst character defect, LT, when I worked the steps, my worst character defect was this mouth. It was my worst character defect. God took it, my worst character defect, and it's now my greatest asset today.
So I noticed, I was reading your thing, and so on my story a little bit, I worked for the government, worked on the most advanced weapon system in the world. And just recently I wouldn't say throw it away, but I've switched gears. I cut it off and just decided to do what God's doing. And it's been a miracle after miracle after miracle every day. I was reading in your in your website here that you were down to your last show on iHeartRadio and got a special sponsor out of nowhere.
I did. I was literally walking to probation, and I said, you know, the show's over. And it's just not going to work. You know, DFW Coin and Jewelry is one of our sponsors, and he used to Uber me, you know, to the studio. Danny Campbell, who's a well-known photographer in Dallas, he would come take pictures at the studio. But I just being early in recovery, I didn't want to take the show to market yet, because I didn't want to sit down with someone saying, hey, do you want to sponsor the show? I've been sober for about 18 minutes and I want to put your name in my mouth. Right.
Yeah.
Kind of high risky, especially me. Right. So I had to God was using me. He said, just keep trusting me. And yes, this family reached out to me. They lost their son to a heroin overdose, their grandson to a heroin overdose. And this family came out and was an angel sponsor for us for the first entire year, where I didn't have to worry about anything financially. And it was awesome. And it got us over the hump. where we show the consistency. The neat thing is that the houses that I built, I surrounded myself with some very, very successful people spiritually, financially, and they're back into my life today. I mean, and they help out. So it's just been a complete full circle of what it is. But yeah, that family I'm very grateful for that family. They don't want any publicity. They've remained anonymous, and they've been awesome. We wouldn't be here today without them. So absolutely.
I just want to shout out Melissa. Thank you very much for that $2. That was very nice of you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's funny because it's not even really a miracle. It's God's perfect timing. I've noticed this last year with what we're doing, because we started this. I just did it as a hobby, right? I produced 10 videos. I like creating things. Then
you're good at it. You're very good at it.
Thank you very much. And then COVID hit. We decided to go live every night and made the huge changes that we've made. And it's always my character defects, getting nervous, impatient, thinking about the future, worrying, not trusting.
Tripping.
Yeah. And then right at the last second, it's exactly what you need. You don't know more, no less. Just exactly what you need.
and I look at God and I go, really, you're going to let me go out there and look like a mess, and then you're going to give it to me, and I'm like, and so it's the same thing. So Felice being the other side, this is what I like. So how do you handle us when you start seeing the behaviors, come back and all that stuff? What is your suggestion to the listener and the follower that is just so codependent and actually becomes just as sick or sicker than we are?
As far as like in a sobriety handling, so far we haven't had really any issues, but just patience. Yeah. I guess patience and understanding, and then just being willing to be open and honest and talk about it. Like anytime he has triggers, he tells me right away, and I don't judge him. I don't sit there and nag at him. I just say, okay. And then that's it. It's out there.
Are you working a program?
No, I don't do Al-Anon. I did biblical counseling, actually.
Okay. That's a pretty good program.
Yeah. I thought it was a great program for me. It's exactly what I
tell them
needed.
when you started it.
When I started about
a year
into here.
Before I probably about 2 years before I quit, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because you did 3 years hardcore, and about a year in, I was like, I need help. Yeah, because I was getting just sucked into his addiction, and I was following bank accounts and where he was going, and like how much he was spending on it, and how much he was drinking, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm getting sucked into your addiction, and I needed help. So I went to a friend of ours who was doing biblical counseling, and it helped me out a lot. We went through a book called The Excellent Wife, and it was a book that taught me how to be an excellent wife, even when your husband is spiraling downhill, to still serve and love unconditionally, but then still to set those boundaries so that me and my family weren't getting drugged, I guess, through the dirt with him.
And I want to applaud you, because on our show, when I talk, this is a family disease. It's a family spiritual disease, and I truly believe the more sober I get, the more spiritual I get the more knowledgeable, more spiritual. And I'm really starting to understand how God has designed the man to be. We're engineered to be the spiritual leader of the household. That's what we're engineered to do, right? And it's got to be very frustrating for the wife. How do I submit? Because you're engineered by God to submit. So how do I submit to this spiritually dead person, that I'm with? And a lot of faith, and a lot of prayer and consistency. And it's great to see that story. It's a great story to see it all come together, right?
And speaking of submission, like I submit to God first and my husband second. So if husband's contradicting what God says, I do not have to submit.
There you go. Well said.
So I would submit when he was under God's authority, and it was in line with what God says. And if it wasn't, then I was like, I can't do that.
So well said. That's exactly right. So it's just so great to see, because when people, and I'm talking, if little Johnny goes to treatment, and he's going to take that risk and go to treatment, when he's 2 days into treatment, the rest of the family better be on day 2 of treatment too. Right.
Exactly.
And
yeah, as soon as he jumped into treatment, the whole family jumped in with him.
I can tell.
She was at every AA meeting that I was at when we were as a family on Thursday nights for 5 months. Every Thursday night we did family group therapy, and she was always there with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
That's why you always see the kids. They're a part of this, because our stigma we're breaking is what we're talking about right now, is breaking. Hey, we're a family and we have to recover as a family.
Amen.
As the head ruined it. It's all my fault at the end of the day. But so to glue all the pieces back together, we all have to work together.
Amen. Amen. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for being on the show. Is there anything else you'd like to add right before we say our prayer and get out of here?
Man, I'm so grateful. And I do want to add this, is that it was so neat. I don't watch a whole lot of social media. I don't. I'm into social media, and we do a lot of stuff. And, my fiance has got me really busy, and then stuff that I do. And when I got on and I was scrolling and I saw the two of y'all on there and I started listening to y'all, I want to applaud you for the content what you're bringing. I hear a lot of stuff out there that's going on. Okay. And it saddens me when somebody takes a platform, they're trying to create controversy to get a following. Okay. Yeah. That's a luxury I don't have. That's a luxury I don't have. But when I heard y'all's message and what y'all are doing, I want to applaud you. I've never reached out and asked to be on a show or anything like that. What I did with y'all was a God deal. I've never done that. And I jumped on there and applauded y'all because, you were just reading out of a book, you know what I mean? And I thought it was so cool, so organic, and it was so natural. And I said, Rachel, check this out. And there's the language of the heart. And I love listening to you because when you talk, both of y'all, okay, my head does this. And that's a power greater than myself that can restore me to sanity, right? Yeah. That's a connection. Something is happening. There's a lot of good stuff out there. I got a lot of great people that I listen to. I'm not unique. I am not unique. My story is no different from anybody out there. And here's our story. We drank, we did drugs. We woke up the next day and we swore we were never going to do it again. And we did it again that night. And we did not know why. That's my story. That's my story. It's the same as everybody else, and whatever I can do to be a service to y'all, let me know. And I applaud what y'all are doing.
Likewise, we're here for you anytime.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're going to say the Serenity Prayer, do our little outro. Stick around and we'll talk to you.
Okay.
Want to get the kids?
Yeah.
Usually just knock on the wall and the kids will.
I want to clarify the way I said I don't have to submit. Because it sounded like I should.
No, you said it perfect.
But I shouldn't be defiant and disrespectful. It should be a respectful, like, I choose not to do that.
You delivered it perfect. I love the way you said it. Because it's a very confusing. A lot of people get confused with that because they think of it wrong. But I was doing a deal with ESPN like about a month ago, and they said, Michael, what do we need to do? What do we need to do for this opioid crisis? What do we need to do? And I said, okay, I'm gonna get to. You want to know the real root, the real underlying root? It's time for dads to take the dinner table back. That's where we need to start. We need fathers to take the dinner table back. It's time for dads to be dads and husbands to be husbands. It's time to do that. And that can be, if you're watching this and you're struggling with alcohol and drugs, the greatest decision you can make for your family is, and if you want to be powerful, give all the power up and tell your wife you're powerless and y'all both go get help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good advice.
Millie, let's go grab Linky real quick.
Okay, Link, they're going to go grab Link. Link loves to pray with us. So.
All right. That's good.
Yeah.
So you're in Utah?
Whole life.
So where can we find you at, Recovering Addict, for people on our channel?
There's our website right up there. You can go to recoveringaddict.org. And that takes you to our YouTube channels and our Facebooks. And then you can integrate even deeper into our Discord. And our Discord is kind of where we really get to know each other as a community.
What's a Discord?
Discord's another app. It was actually made for gamers. But we took advantage of it just because it's like a private Facebook group, but it's a little bit more private. It structures the conversation so that if you just want to text chat, there's a text chat. We got a gratitude room. We got our scheduled Zoom room. We got my two favorite prayer request room and the support room. You go to the support room. The support room is the sacred room. You go there if you are, hey, I need support. You type it in there, and then we can see that and respond within minutes and jump into a voice chat, talk you out of anything you're going through, or just listen, just be a shoulder to cry on. And the cool thing about it is we have friends in the Discord in the UK. We have friends in Australia. So if it's nighttime, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're hurting here, you reach out there, you got somebody in Australia like-minded on the same page is going to be there for your help, especially crazy times that we're in right now.
Oh, it's just unbelievable. I do miss the a lot of people I'm actually right when I get off, I'm an isolator, you know, I'm insane. You know, when I'm lonely, my solution is to isolate. Go figure. That's crazy. Right. I'll drink and do drugs if I do that. But I have a real small circle, and I miss you know, going to support group meetings, seeing people. Right. And because this has been therapeutic tonight for me, and I appreciate it. Y'all have helped me. You know, I was able to sit down and get out of self for 1 hour. Okay. 1 hour, and to get out of self. And I need that. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. I love listening to it. I need to hear all the time. So I love what Steve Bill said. Sometimes it's your turn to speak. Sometimes it's your turn to listen. And we got the pleasure of listening to
Right. So I like that too. So,
all right. Well, I've given up on the kids. So,
all right.
She lost him. I don't know where they went.
All right. We're going to say the serenity prayer.
Okay.
God,
grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Let's say it again.
All right, here we go. I've never done one of anything.
Finally, the kids. Okay, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Dear God, thank you so much for this connection. Thank you for your power. And dear God, please be with the still suffering addict and open our eyes and hearts to love you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Thanks, kids. All right, you guys, we will be back Tuesday at 8 o'clock. You know where you can find us. You know where you can catch us. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Michael, for being a part of our show. And now I'm sure we're going to be friends the rest of our lives.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So everybody, Tuesday, 8 o'clock, we'll be back to go through our book. And until next time, remember, do not put yourself in a high-risk situation. Stay strong, work your program, and remember, we recover better together.